A strange object appears directly in front of a rover on Mars. NASA checks photographs taken only a few days earlier, but the object is not there. It has a bright white rim, a dark red center, and looks almost exactly like a jelly donut lying in the Martian dust. The rover has not moved since the earlier image. Nothing living has been seen nearby. There is no rain, flowing water, or strong atmosphere capable of carrying a rock across the ground. So how did it suddenly appear? This is only one of many discoveries that have made Mars look less like an empty desert and more like a planet filled with visual tricks, chemical mysteries, and objects that seem strangely familiar. NASA has photographed flowers, blueberries, spiders, faces, metallic visitors, and a spotted rock that may preserve evidence of chemical reactions associated with life on Earth. Most of these discoveries have ordinary geological explanations. A few remain genuinely important scientific mysteries. These are the weirdest things NASA has found on Mars. Number 10. The jelly donut. In January 2014, NASA's Opportunity rover photographed a small rock that had apparently appeared from nowhere. The object was only about 4 centimeters wide, but its white outer edge and dark red center immediately earned it the nickname Pinnacle Island, or the Martian jelly donut. An image taken 4 Martian days earlier showed an empty patch of ground in exactly the same location. Opportunity had barely moved, so scientists considered several possibilities. Perhaps a small meteorite had landed nearby. Perhaps wind had somehow shifted the rock. Some people outside NASA proposed far more dramatic explanations. The mystery lasted for weeks while Opportunity examined the object with its microscopic camera and spectrometer. The answer was eventually found slightly uphill. One of the rover's wheels had driven over a larger rock, broken off a piece, and thrown it forward. Because the rover's cameras were facing another direction when this happened, nobody noticed until the bright fragment appeared in a later photograph. The alien donut was not food, a fungus, or a living creature. It was a piece of Martian rock moved by the robot sent to investigate it. Number 9. The Martian Flower. In February 2022, Curiosity aimed its close-up camera at a tiny object protruding from the surface of Gale Crater. The object had delicate branching structures spreading outward like the petals of a miniature flower. Against the dull brown ground, it looked almost biological. But the entire feature was smaller than a coin. Curiosity had discovered similar formations before, including small spherical shapes and branching mineral clusters. The flower did not grow from a seed. It formed long ago when mineral-rich water moved through cracks and channels inside Martian rock. The minerals cemented together, creating a structure more resistant than the material surrounding it. Over immense periods of time, wind removed the softer rock and left the harder flower-shaped formation exposed. It is not evidence of a Martian garden, but it reveals something arguably more important. Liquid water once traveled through this part of Mars, leaving behind a mineral sculpture billions of years before a human camera arrived to photograph it. Number 8. The Blueberries. When Opportunity landed at Meridiani Planum in 2004, it discovered countless tiny spheres scattered across the ground and embedded inside exposed rock. Scientists nicknamed them blueberries, even though their natural color was closer to gray than blue. Many were only a few millimeters across. They looked as if someone had poured ball bearings over the Martian landscape. Analysis showed that the spheres were rich in hematite, an iron-bearing mineral that can form in the presence of water. The leading explanation is that mineral-rich groundwater once moved through porous Martian rock. Chemical reactions caused hematite to accumulate around small starting points, slowly building rounded concretions. Later erosion released them from the surrounding stone and scattered them across the surface. The blueberries became one of Opportunity's most important discoveries because they supported the conclusion that parts of Mars had once been wet. Yet the same water may have been acidic and hostile. Finding evidence of water does not automatically mean finding a comfortable environment for life. Number 7. A visitor from space. In 2005, Opportunity encountered a dark, pitted object about the size of a basketball. Unlike the layered sedimentary rocks surrounding it, this object was made mostly of iron and nickel. It was a meteorite. The first meteorite ever positively identified on the surface of another planet. Scientists named it Heat Shield Rock because Opportunity found it near debris from the heat shield that protected the rover during landing. The discovery created a wonderfully strange situation. A machine built on Earth had traveled through space, landed on Mars, and then found a different object that had also traveled through space and landed on Mars. Curiosity later discovered another iron-nickel meteorite nicknamed Egg Rock and fired laser pulses at it to study its composition. Mars may preserve metallic meteorites particularly well because its atmosphere is thin and its surface has little liquid water to produce the intense weathering seen on Earth. These alien rocks are not Martian at all. They are visitors stranded on a planet that has become a natural museum for objects falling from the solar system. Number 6. The spiders. From orbit, cameras have photographed enormous branching patterns near the Martian South Pole. Hundreds of dark legs radiate from central points, making the landscape look as if it has been covered by giant spiders. Some individual formations stretch hundreds of meters across. No animal produced them. The spiders are scars created by a seasonal process involving carbon dioxide ice. During the southern winter, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere freezes onto the ground. When sunlight returns in spring, it passes through translucent slabs of ice and warms the darker soil underneath. Carbon dioxide at the bottom changes directly from solid ice into gas. The trapped gas builds pressure until it cracks through the frozen surface, carrying dust and sand upward in erupting plumes. Gas moving beneath the slab cuts branching channels into the ground. After the seasonal ice disappears, the channels remain as spider-shaped terrain. In 2024, NASA scientists recreated important parts of this process inside a laboratory chamber using simulated Martian temperatures and pressure. The spiders are not alive, but Mars effectively creates them again every spring. Number 5. The face. In 1976, the Viking 1 orbiter photographed a region called Cydonia. One hill in the image appeared to have eyes, a nose, a mouth, and the outline of an enormous human face. The picture was captured with relatively low resolution while sunlight struck the formation at an angle that created deep shadows. The image quickly became one of the most famous photographs ever taken of Mars. Some people claimed it was an artificial monument constructed by an ancient civilization. Later spacecraft returned with much sharper cameras and photographed the formation under different lighting. The face disappeared. What remained was an eroded hill surrounded by other mesas. The original image demonstrated pareidolia, the tendency of the human brain to find familiar patterns, especially faces, inside random shapes. Mars is unusually good at producing this illusion because its craters, shadows, and fractured rocks provide endless combinations of circles and lines. The face tells us less about Martian civilization than it does about the human brain examining Mars from millions of kilometers away. Number 4. A rock filled with pure sulfur. In May 2024, Curiosity drove over an ordinary-looking rock in the Gettysville Channel. The rock cracked open beneath the rover's wheel and revealed bright yellow crystals inside. Scientists determined that they were elemental sulfur. Sulfur-bearing minerals had been detected on Mars before, but finding pure elemental sulfur in this location was unexpected. Curiosity soon observed an entire field of light-colored rocks that may contain similar material. Elemental sulfur can form through several chemical pathways, but the local geology did not provide an immediate explanation for why so much of it should be concentrated there. The rover had discovered it by accident. If the wheel had passed only a short distance to either side, the crystals might have remained sealed inside the rock. It was another example of Mars hiding its strangest chemistry beneath an ordinary surface. Number 3. Organic molecules inside ancient mud. Curiosity drilled into sedimentary rock inside Gale Crater and detected organic molecules preserved in ancient Martian material. The word organic sounds like proof of life, but in chemistry, it simply describes compounds containing carbon. Organic molecules can be produced by living organisms, but they can also form through non-biological reactions or arrive inside meteorites. The discovery is therefore not evidence that Martians once lived in Gale Crater. It does show that some of the chemical ingredients associated with life can survive in Martian rocks for extremely long periods. Curiosity has also detected changing amounts of methane in the atmosphere, another result that remains difficult to explain completely. On Earth, much methane is produced biologically, but geological reactions can make it as well. Mars keeps presenting chemistry that could have several origins, forcing scientists to separate what is exciting from what has actually been proven. Number 2. The remains of rivers and lakes. Mars today is cold, dry, and covered by an atmosphere less than 1% as dense as Earth's. Yet its surface contains deltas, channels, rounded stones, mineral deposits, and sedimentary layers shaped by ancient water. Perseverance landed inside Jezero crater because orbital images showed what appeared to be a preserved river delta. Once on the ground, the rover photographed steeply angled sediment layers and rounded rocks consistent with water flowing into an ancient lake. Curiosity has examined ripple patterns preserved in rock inside Gale crater, evidence that shallow water once moved across sediment there. The strangest object found on Mars may therefore be the planet itself. It contains the geological remains of a wetter world hidden beneath a global desert. Lakes existed where there is now dust. Rivers entered craters that have not held open water for billions of years. Mars did not merely lose some moisture. It transformed into a different planet. Number 1. The Leopard-Spotted Rock. In July 2024, Perseverance examined an arrowhead-shaped rock in an ancient river valley within Jezero crater. The science team nicknamed it Chayava Falls. White calcium sulfate veins ran through the rock, showing that water had once passed through it. Reddish areas contained hematite, while instruments detected organic compounds. Then scientists noticed dozens of small pale patches surrounded by dark rims. They looked like leopard spots. On Earth, similar patterns in some sedimentary rocks can form through chemical reactions that release iron and phosphate. Those reactions can provide energy for microorganisms, and comparable spots are sometimes associated with microbial activity in Earth's subsurface. That makes Chayava Falls extraordinarily interesting, but it does not make it proof of life. The rock also contains olivine, a mineral associated with igneous processes. Heat and non-biological chemistry might have created the same features without any organism being involved. Perseverance analyzed the rock with every instrument available and collected a core sample called Sapphire Canyon. To determine what produced the spots, scientists would ideally study that sample in laboratories on Earth. Chayava Falls currently represents a possible signal, not a confirmed fossil. That uncertainty is exactly why it may be the most important object in this video. A fake alien doorway can be dismissed as a fracture. A face can disappear under better lighting. A donut can be traced to a rover wheel. But the leopard spots contain a chemical story that cannot yet be finished from Mars. The weirdest discoveries on the red planet repeatedly begin with something familiar. A flower, a blueberry, a spider, a face, a piece of food. Those names help humans describe objects found in a completely unfamiliar environment, but they can also mislead us. Mars is not secretly copying things from Earth. Human minds are translating Martian geology into shapes they recognize. Behind those shapes are the real discoveries. Evidence of groundwater, ancient lakes, unusual sulfur chemistry, seasonal carbon dioxide eruptions, organic molecules, and reactions that may once have created habitable environments. NASA has not confirmed life on Mars, but it has found a planet that was once dramatically different from the frozen desert we see today. Somewhere inside its rocks, Mars may still preserve the answer to whether that ancient world was merely habitable, or actually inhabited.